Hi there, I hope you're doing okay wherever you are. A full face, full coverage, full beat may not be what's trending in 2024, but I know there are some of us who enjoy doing that, and there are some occasions where such a look makes sense. For example, birthday parties, graduations, weddings. If you're interested to see how I got this look together, this is what I call my updated full coverage makeup look, and I made sure to use affordable products. Then I stick around. My face is already prepped. I washed my face this morning and I just put on some hyaluronic acid, moisturizer, sunscreen. Okay, I'm gonna start off first with the brows and then the eyes. The brow wax that I'm using is this one from Catrice. It's their brow fix. I'm just gonna spray some setting mist onto the surface just to activate the wax, and I'm gonna take some with the spoolie brush and I'm just gonna work it into my brows. And just make sure that you don't make the wax too wet, otherwise this is what will happen. So not too much, you don't need too much of the setting spray to activate the product, otherwise you get a residue. I'm just gonna push the hairs up, push my brow hairs up, and then using my fingers I'm just gonna smooth it down. I'm just gonna smooth it down. You can also use the pen, the handle of the brush to do that. Just smooth it down, and then to prevent that electrocuted look, I'm just gonna smooth the top of the hairs. I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Brush the hairs up, so you press the brush into your hairs and then you brush them up. And using my hand to smooth the hair down, finishing it up with the handle of the spoolie brush, smoothing down the hair. I'm smoothing down the hair so I don't have this electrocuted look. While the wax is drying, I'm gonna apply this Maybelline Fit Me primer all over my face. This is the Luminous and Smooth Primer. It has SPF 20. It's for normal to dry skin. Because I'm gonna go in with a lot of matte products, I wanna make sure that the base starting off is hydrated and glowy. But the nice thing about this is that it doesn't give you a oily looking glow. It gives you a natural skin radiance, like your natural oils are peeking through type glow. To fill in my brows, I use a combination of a brow pencil as well as a brow pen, and I'm using the She Glam brow pencil brow pen duo in the shade Chocolate. It's a brow pencil on this side and then brow pen on this side. Starting off with the pencil, and then I'm finishing up with the pen. I'm just gonna look down and just lightly trace out the bottom of my brows. And then once I've done that, I'm just gonna fill in to fill in. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Look down, trace out the bottom. And to trace out the bottom, I just use the natural shape of my brows. And I do make sure that my brows are already groomed. Any stray hairs have been cut. It just makes it easier to carve out the bottom of your brow and also to fill in the brows. I'm just gonna brush the product to distribute it evenly into the brows. No, I'm just gonna brush my brows to distribute. I'm just gonna brush my brows to distribute the product evenly through my brows, and to remove that harsh line that you may see here when I was carving out the bottom brow. Now I'm gonna go in with this pen just to fill in mostly towards the front of the brows. And anywhere towards the tail. Before I go any further, let me brush that out to see what I'm working with. And so far I'm pleased. Definitely not twin sisters, but you can see that they're siblings. And I'm gonna carve out the bottom of my brows and also prep my lids with concealer. Before I do that, let me put on some eyeshadow primer, because I do eyeshadow primer and then the concealer. This is the She Glam Ready Set primer. Love this primer, and it's also affordable. Just gonna, and for the sake of time, I'm just gonna use my hand. I will put some over here also on my smile lines. Use whatever is left on the smile lines. Use whatever is left on the smile lines. LA Girl Pro Conceal in the shade Espresso. And just carve out the bottom. Then using a beauty blender just to blend that out, and then taking what is left onto the eyelids. I'm also going to go in with a lighter color on the eyelids, but for now I'm just taking whatever is left from the brows and putting it and dragging it down onto the eyelids. For the eyelids, I'm going to be using the same concealer LA Girl, but now this is the shade Toffee. And I'm just going to put it on my eyelids. This is a lighter color so that the pigment of the eyeshadow pops more, is much bolder and not as dull. Because I'm keeping it affordable, I won't be using my normal Hermosa Flow or Juvia's Place eyeshadows. With those eyeshadows, I don't really need to do much. I can even just put a skin tone concealer on my lids and it's good to go. But with the Revolution one, I just want the color of the shadow to be more bold. And the concealer just does that better. I'm also going in with this Maybelline Fit Me in the shade 45, and I'm just gonna eyeshadow. I'm going in with two palettes, Revolution Reloaded Neutrals 2 and also Revolution, but this is the Flawless 4. Using a big fluffy brush like this, I'm just going to go into this brown color. I'm just going to go into this one. Just set the concealer. This is more my skin tone, and I'm just going to use it to set the primer and the concealer. Going in with a fluffy brush, but a much smaller fluffy brush. And I'm just going to go into this, this reddish, it's like a reddish brown color. And I'm going to put that in my crease. I'm gonna start here, and then I'm just gonna put that in my crease, and then continue to build it up. Then using the same brush, I'm gonna go into the Neutrals Reloaded 2 and go into this orange one just to blend out the crease color that I put. So I'm just gonna go on top of that and then blend it out. every time I go in, I wipe it off on a towel or something like that. For the outer V, I'm going to go into this darker orange and berry pink color just to deepen it up. And I'm just going to stamp that into the outer V. In the center, I'm going to do a gradient. I'm going to start off with this shimmer, and to intensify it, I'm just going to add some setting spray to my brush. Using the same brush but the other side, I'm going to add more setting spray. I'm going to take this color over here, this pink color, and keep on swiping and merge it into that other color. And if I need to intensify the color for any of the shades that I use, I'll just do that and reinforce it. I'm going to use a black shadow to create a mini smoked out wing. I'm going to stamp it onto my lash line. I'm going to start off and color correct using this LA Girl orange color corrector, placing it where I need it, which is usually around my mouth and here under my eyes. And then I'm going to let it sit for a while just for more coverage. To bronze, I'm using this Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer in the shade C16. I just like how the red undertone that it has. It has such a beautiful red undertone. And I'm just gonna place it here. Using a dense concealer brush. And just gonna lightly tap the product and blend it out. I'm gonna go under my eyes too. Do the same thing. Tap. And I just place it where I have the most visible hyperpigmentation, and that's around my eyes or around my mouth. And then I'm gonna lightly set that with a skin tone powder. I'm using Maybelline Fit Me powder in the shade Warm Cocoa Nuts, and just set that so that it also doesn't interfere with the concealers and all the other products that I'll be placing on top of it. Okay, Real Techniques mini sculpting brush. And I'm just gonna blend that upwards, so never downwards, always upwards. And blend that into the hairline as well. Blend that into the hairline. So this bronze is not too dark. I just like the red undertone that it has. It's very red in comparison to my own undertone. So it's a great bronzer for me. Just blend it and blend it into the hairline. Up towards the forehead, up towards the temple. Up, always up, never down, always up, never down, even with makeup, always up, never down. To contour, LA Girl concealer in the shade Mahogany, and I just contour underneath where I place the bronzer, just a little bit, under where I place the bronzer. I will contour. I don't really contour on my forehead. I prefer to bronze, and I'm just going to blend that upwards again into the bronzer color. And you can do that. Okay. Alrighty. I feel like that's fine. I forgot to do on the nose, so while we're doing the blush, let me just place some on the bronzer on the nose, so we can get to the blush. And I'm using the same brush for everything, for the blush, for the contour, and for the bronzer. For blush, I'm going to go in with this pink concealer from She Glam. I think it's also sold out, but any pink pink blush, not concealer, any pink blush will do. Just gonna swipe it onto the product, remove excess on the back of my finger, and then place it. Now with this, because I'm underpainting, I'm not too mad that the blush is gonna be a lot. We are underpainting, so this is a great method if you know that you like going overboard with bronzers and contours. This is a great way to kind of dim everything down. I'm gonna use that same concealer brush. I just removed excess on a towel, and I'm gonna sculpt my nose. I'm gonna contour my nose, and I'm going into the brows. You'll notice I'm taking the product into my brows. Okay, it's done. Now for concealer, and then to highlight, I'm using Maybelline Fit Me concealers in the shade 45, 60 and 50. Starting off with 60, which is more of a skin tone shade. I'm placing it in the middle here, and then 45 towards here to brighten up. And then towards the end here, over here, down my nose, and I'm going in with 50. Some setting spray, just so that it's easier to blend out the concealer, because this concealer dries down very quickly, and blending that out. Tap, 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 tap to blend it out. Okay. Under my eyes, and it's the same, you just tap, but here with under the eyes, don't forget to look up to minimize creasing. Finishing up the blending with the beauty blender. I just like the finished look, how it looks when I blend it out with the beauty blender, and it also soaks up any excess products. 60, where everywhere else I didn't highlight or bronze or blush. So around here, I'm gonna add the concealer underneath here, and of course in between the highlight and the bronzer on the forehead. This I'm gonna use a bigger brush, still dense but bigger, because to cover more area. And then I'm gonna start around my mouth and dab it in. Take it to underneath the contour, down my neck if I need to, the other side. And then of course over here. And then I'm just gonna go over, I'm just gonna use what is left to go all over the face. So all over the blush, all over the contour, all over the highlights, and any lines of demarcation. I'm gonna bring it down to my neck, whatever is left, I'll bring it to my neck. And okay. To set, I use a skin tone pressed powder. I'm using warm coconut. I'm just gonna set where I've highlighted. Because I don't want too much coverage, I'm gonna use a brush and not a sponge or a powder puff. But before I do that, I'm gonna use the concealer brush that I used just to check under my eyes, make sure that there's no creasing that developed while I was busy with the rest of my face. Okay, and I'm just lightly gonna set. So I use skin tone color, I'm not trying to brighten. So for this step you can also use a translucent powder. You're just setting the concealer. We're not trying to brighten or anything like that. We're just setting wherever we highlighted. Okay, it's Revolution. To bake, I want more coverage. I'm going to use a powder puff. Okay, and I'm going to just lightly tap off the excess on the back of my hand. Swirl it out so that it's distributed evenly. I'm baking to add more brightness under my eyes and down my nose. I'm also baking to create a more blurred out look. While that's baking, I'm going to do my bronzer. I use this, a big ass fluffy brush, tapered fluffy. Underneath where the blush is, I'm just going to go in circular motions. And then on my temples also, just nice circular motions. Add more. run it under. Circular motions, take it into the forehead using the same circular motions. Because it's so red, I'm going to use this Yardley pressed powder in the shade Walnut just to gently diffuse it out. So diffuse out the edges. So just on top of where I placed the bronzer, I'm gonna add this. Still using the same brush, still using those circular motions. On this side, I'm gonna just slightly dab it, and a sort of a transition between the bronzer, the blush, and that bright under eye. I'm just gonna dab it. I'm just gonna add it there. More visible. And to bring everything together, I'm gonna go in with a skin tone concealer, skin tone powder, Maybelline Fit Me in the shade Mocha. Go all over the face, and I'm also going to use it to remove the bake. But to remove the bake, I'm going to use this brush, the brush that I used to set. So I'm going to add some of that Mocha onto this highlighting brush that I used to set the under eyes, not to bake the under eyes, to set. And I'm going to use that same brush to dust off this bake. Dust it off on my nose. I'm going to take what is left on the powder puff, and I'm just going to go lightly here, just for a very subtle reverse contour. For a very subtle reverse contour, nothing much. Boom, boom, boom. And then just underneath that. The blush is not as pigmented or as bold as it was before. That's the power of underpainting, baby. That's the power of underpainting. I want to use it to smoke out my lower lash line. Then I'm going to apply mascara, and then we'll come back and do the lips.